I really did love the cereal bowl.
Yeah?
That was like a brainchild of mine because it was just something we saw. Like I started using it every day, the prototypes. And it was,
I can see you just like eating.
Yeah.
And in the morning, just eating out of the bowl. Hello and welcome. This is the ILC Business Podcast, Episode 6, Joseph Klar and Trendsformers, recorded on March 1st, 2020 in New York City. We're still recording in Josh's house, but today we have got a new guest. He's a client, but also Josh's brother, and he has an interesting story, and we'll be interviewing him. Introducing to the show, Joseph Klar, the operations manager for Trendsformers, an innovative consumer products good company here located in New York City. Joseph, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
This is your first podcast?
Yes.
This is your first podcast? Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, I think this is you've got 2 listeners. So in terms of putting your toe in the water, this is the perfect place to do it.
Great.
We'll keep things really, really easy for you. So Joseph, what is Trendsformers? Tell us a little bit about the company.
It's a company we started in 2009. Our family are real entrepreneurs, and this was an inventions business. We started doing things like closet organizational products. We do like a cereal bowl. It's called an anti-soggy cereal bowl, where you put it had a compartment, and you have cereal on one side, milk on the other, and then you.
Wasn't there like a TV show or something like that?
It might have been like maybe a Shark Tank.
I think so.
Yeah. It's possible, yeah. But we did something that was. It looked just like a cereal bowl. We wanted it to, and it stacked well, and it was great. It was, it did quite well in like the Bed Bath & Beyonds, and those sort of places, a Container Store, where they appreciate that kind of innovation. We then moved on to, we had a jewelry hanger, which was it looked like a hanger with, it had ridges on the bottom, so you can like put your jewelry on, and you can kind of match your outfits, as opposed to most jewelry boxes, the jewelry gets really tangled. And you can't really see, what outfit you're going to use it with. And this was just a way of really organizing it. And had an earrings bar as well, so you can like fit like a bunch of your earrings in there. And it had different colors. You can put it in your closet or hide it under a garment for security. And things like that. We did some electronic products, it's called a sound bender, which amplified sound on your iPad by bringing like the.
So you bring it closer.
Yeah.
You just redirect it to your face, or
and while we loved it, one of the main challenges was when you're doing inventions company, each one is can't really build on it.
Okay.
It's
one and done.
Yeah. It's
prove
one and
the
done.
idea, move on.
Exactly. One of the other challenges we had was that it's you have to convince people to buy it. I mean, you have to convince the buyer from the stores of a Bed Bath to say why they should take, your innovative cereal bowl over just a regular cereal bowl. And then once you convince them to do it, you then have to convince, people in the store. They're running by your product, and you have.
It's not just one buyer.
Right.
It's all the buyers.
Yeah, you have a split second for them to just get it and be like, oh, that's cool. I want it. Or I hate soggy cereal. Let me buy that. So you deal with that with each product.
So in an inventions company, who does that? Like who starts to make an invention company? Just someone is this like the end result of a kid just being too creative and just realizing, I just need to do this as a career? Yeah,
we just it was me and another brother of mine who started the company, and we just we just always had ideas and said, if we can just bring this to fruition, and then we would sometimes draw it out. We made a little purse that you could put your iPhone in. This was way back,
iPhone 1.
Yeah, when they were just becoming popular.
Because they had no one's garments or accessories had that in it.
Yeah, and what we had the idea was we would hear some women complain that there was no place to put their glasses. If you have sunglasses, you put it in your purse, but it scratches against other things. So we said, what if we built kind of like a triangle glasses case that was hard, so you couldn't sit on, and then we would add a phone case, on the outside, and therefore you can kind of keep everything in there. And it was called the eye pocket, and it was a way of just protecting your glasses. And that was a tough one to retail in stores, but we did it on HSN, where they actually demo the product on their channel, and people can actually see what it does, and it did quite well.
So I'm realizing that you are you take what people that I've seen on Shark Tank
Yes. Yeah.
as that's your business. It's like you go from idea to execution as quickly as possible because that is the business. Some companies, they have like the eye pocket, but that's the only thing they've got. And you guys have a process or some kind of creativity behind you guys that makes you unique to where you can just keep throwing these ideas out there and making them happen. That's very unique.
Absolutely. We as a small company, we had to be quick. We couldn't have one idea and just work on it and continuously perfect it, over 6 months, a year and a half. It had to, an idea is great, but how are you going to actually make it happen? How are you going to pay your bills and run a business with just an idea or just an innovative product? It's got to, you need to see it do well, and if it's not, cut your losses, work on the next idea that you have. Yeah, and really make it happen, and
it's almost like gambling in a way.
Yeah, it really is. You try to, the idea is to fill a need,
right.
and if the need is big enough, then the product has the best shot of doing well. But in terms of just the education of making a product just from start to finish, you realize just how every step is so crucial. It's not just an idea, but it's where are you going to source it? What country, which factory are you going to use?
All the details of getting that from idea to a product.
Is your quality control proper? Done well? Is the UPC codes correct? Something as simple as that.
Which just trash you.
Yeah, we've learned the wrong way. Where factory made a mistake, and it's such a shame because you've worked so hard on the product. Making it, bringing it in, warehousing it, marketing it, and then one little thing is wrong, and the house of cards falls down. So it's you really have to. What was key is see is it going to work? Give it all your all. Make sure no stone is left unturned. But if it's not doing well, let it go and keep working on the other one.
What was your favorite idea? Do you have a favorite?
I really did love the cereal bowl. That was that was. Like a brainchild of mine because it was just something we saw. Like I started using it every day, the prototypes. And it was,
I can see you just like eating. In the morning, just eating out of the bowl.
It was great.
Having a crunchy and milky experience.
And we were able to build on that a little bit. We did different colors. We did a 2-pack and a 3-pack, and we had to package it in a way where people can actually see the product. So it was kind of like a open clear cardboard, that kind of held it, and then you can peg it, on stores. But that was definitely an exciting one.
What was one that flopped the most?
We had this idea to build a Christmas tree that went on your car.
I think I saw that on your website. You saw that,
and we thought we'd seen in the Jewish community people have a menorah that went on their car, and it was cool, and it would plug into the socket, the cigarette. Outlet in the car, and then the lights would go up. And we said, if we could do this for a Christmas tree, people are constantly trying to use lights and kind of spread the family, the holiday.
Outdo the neighbors.
Yeah. So we said, what if we did this? We'll make it. We'll retail it for $100. At first, that was and we thought it would be the biggest thing. And it was very difficult to actually make the engineering of it because you're putting something on your car. People are going 60, 65 miles an hour.
Okay.
How do you
I can
make
see
it
this now. Yep.
Stay on there
safe
properly? Had to make sure the lights stay on, and we did it. It was difficult. There was a few runs, and we wanted to make that holiday season. Yeah. We then got it on. It was on the Today Show with Al Roker.
Okay.
We through some marketing. And we thought that would be a big success. We also drove around Rockefeller Center, New York City, went all around with 3 cars with just lights going on, music blazing. And then we had the show came on, and it just didn't really sell.
No, they're sold, it's funny, it's great, but
when it came to actually buying it, people loved the idea, but it's a little bit out there. We did end up finding certain pockets in the deep south, we saw a lot of towns will have Christmas parades every year.
Yeah, I can see that.
And people really wanted it. And so when we went on Amazon and we lowered the price from $100 to $50 retail, and it started to sell better, but it wasn't that huge success. And
Right.
And again, if it's not going to be a big success, you have to just cut your losses. And
Yeah, that kind of.
we did it with a flag. We had like a big like American flag, or instead of a tree, it was kind of interchangeable.
Oh, because it's pivot.
Yeah,
Worse in
yeah.
a way.
We thought, you know, this
If
is
a tree
like,
didn't work, then a flag should.
right, and switching it over, the engineering wasn't that difficult. So we said let's try, you know, tailgating, you know, in the NFL.
Okay, I can see that.
People
Yeah.
love that. People have little flags on their car. Well, what if we can give them something really nice? Again, it lights up at night, and you can interchange the flags with any flag you want.
Right.
Did a bit better, but again, it just didn't take.
I saw the YouTube video that was on your site.
Right, for
the
the
commercial.
flag. Yeah.
And I love that little concept of just like, I think it's your brother,
Yeah,
David, walking around taking people's window
Yes.
flags,
Right.
the flags that stay on the window frame, taking them and then replacing them with your
Yeah.
big ass flag.
Yeah, we wanted to do something a little not risque, but
sorry.
kind of buzzworthy. And
What was the brand? I think it was called
the Beast car flag.
Beast Car
Yeah.
Flag. I don't want to say big ass
Right.
flags because there's actually a big ass fan company
Is
that
there
does really well because they make big ass fans.
Wow.
And we're talking about fans that are like 10 foot across,
Oh, wow. Okay,
right?
so
And they put them
really
in warehouses. And
Oh, wow.
they're really popular with
Those
that
are
kind of
big
space.
ass. You know,
Yeah, because
fans.
I've seen them in my clients' warehouses. So I was
okay.
thinking that, I was like, that's a big ass flag.
Yeah, we called it Beast Car Flag because we didn't want to be that serious. You know, we
Sure,
want to say we
sure.
know what we are, and let's see if we can get people.
It's just a
into the
flag,
idea.
man.
Yeah. And
That's awesome. What were you doing before all this? What was? I can't imagine you went straight from high school into this, right? So
yeah, it was.
sort of progression.
Yeah, more like Wall Street actually, which is
Yeah.
quite different than
Quite
this.
different.
Which
Equities, I saw.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I did like it. I liked just seeing patterns and noticing, you know, how markets are moving and.
You don't have
all
any
the-
good stock tips for today.
No.
And we're recording this after the biggest weekly loss in
Yes.
the stock market,
Yeah,
down 12%. Yeah, we don't have any tips.
It's a weird time. It's.
Be careful, everybody.
Yeah.
Talk to your advisors.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
So yeah, we did that, and I loved that psychological aspect
The
to it.
speed, the data, the competition.
Yeah, but then, you know, as I kept doing that, I realized it wasn't what I thought it would be, and you know, and the stress involved. It wasn't, I guess, the life I wanted, and that's sort of how we were kind of shooting ideas around with one of my brothers, and said, well, why don't we do this and start small, you know? And the first product we had was a inflatable boot shaper. You know, we saw that, you know, women have these big boots that are quite expensive, and they'll put it in their closet, say for summer, you know, and take it out in the winter, and it's
shaped and messed up. Yeah.
So this was just a simple. You inflated this long, you know, narrow like balloon almost, and then you would put it in the boot, and it would stay firm and strong, and had different sizes, and we did different prints, you know, like zebra, and it was good. And we got into Container Store and Bed Bath & Beyond, and after like knocking on the doors for like 2.5 years. But again, it was like a nice small product, but not something that would really pay the bills and warrant.
How did that first conversation go though? Because I feel like a lot of people in this space who are starting a business and like they know that they're not going to get that critical mass unless they talk to a retailer. How did starting the conversation with a retailer go? Did you already have contacts, or did you just literally walk into the front door? How did that go?
Trade shows. It was really trade shows. We would go to our first trade show, and people wouldn't really pay attention to us much. But then the next trade show, you know, very often it's the same retailers that are the same buyers for those retailers that are walking, and they'll see you. And sometimes they'll give you their card, and you'll email, and generally they won't respond, or they'll just say not interested. But once you get that conversation going, even a not interested can change, because you'll make a new product, let's say the cereal bowl, and you'll say, hey, what about this one? And they'll say not interested, but then you'll make another one. And eventually they'll say, okay, I'll do a small test. And we would go to them and say, you know what? No minimum orders. There's 48 units in a box. That's your minimum. Take it. We'll give you a great price. So for them, there's not much risk. And our first product at Bed Bath worked. So they said, all right, well, let's try another one. But you're still going to trade shows, cultivating those relationships. Then we would meet Container Store, and then Bed Bath & Beyond, and slowly, you just keep hitting the pavement every day. So trade shows was definitely key. we're getting those contact information. Very often, just sometimes cold calling, finding out who the buyers. Yeah, it's tough. It's a grind. But if you have cool products and things, and you explain to them how it's a need, how what you're bringing is something that can fill, their space, because ultimately, the buyers have bosses, and they need to. You need to kind of see it from their perspective. They need wins,
Right.
They want to get promoted. They want to look better, in the eyes of their higher ups. So if you're giving them something that can fill that, then they'll take it. And what's really key is to study their stores. We practically lived in those stores.
Really?
Yeah. And
What would you do to there?
just walk around and see, okay, what's hot. I mean, you can get an idea of what's really
because they're not going to give you that data to you.
They're not, absolutely not. But if you walk in the store and you'll see what's eye level, on the shelves, what's right there when you walk in, what's in those areas, each section of the store, what hits you right as you walk there. Those are the ones doing well.
Right, because that's the premium positions.
Absolutely.
That's what will move units.
Yeah, and as you keep walking those stores, you'll see what's changing. Sometimes you'll notice those brands more and more that are doing well, and you'll see them expanding. One time they might have like one color of a product, and then a month later there'll be 5 different versions of the same product in different colors, and that's something that's doing really, really well. And then you might want to say, all right, well, how can I do it better, what they're doing? Or it doesn't have to be an exact copy, but it could be in that space. If it's water bottles, then you might say, okay, well, people are really buying that now. How can I make something that's looks better?
I remember water bottles being a big thing for like a while. I think 2010.
Yeah.
I noticed a big like everyone had like a water bottle brand. I don't know why.
Sure. Yeah, I know there's a brand I use called Contigo.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. The product works well, and I've seen them continuously growing. And at trade shows, their booth has gotten bigger and bigger. Right. So those were one of the things that as you're walking the stores over months and a few years, you'll really get an idea of what's working.
How big is Trendsformers now in terms of employees?
Now it started with just us 2. It's about 6 employees now. Still small. We outsource a lot of our work, so we have.
That's the key then.
Yeah. One of our keys to success has been watching our downside and not growing too quickly and thinking.
Yeah, because ultimately, if you're the kind of company that's going to swap to another brand or another product idea, it's kind of hard to justify a lot of capital being put up a warehouse, and staff and systems, and to do that.
I mean, we've seen other companies who were doing phenomenally well, and they would rent out entire floors of, office space in places like Times Square, and their overhead was so big, so that as soon as things got a little tough, they couldn't handle it, and some of them have gone under because of that. So it was always a lesson to us, like, watch your downside, just watch your expenses. We found some really good designers on Upwork, and they really have grown with us, and through that we would, if we needed someone to render the product on our boxes, they would say, oh, you got to speak to this person. So we would find, through networking, through the people that we really liked, they would help us. And when it came to building a website, one of them would say, oh, you got to go with this guy. Yeah. And then that designer would do a phenomenal job, and he would say, oh, I know an amazing marketing company that you can use, for your website. And we would go with them, and then they would say social media, and it would really, you start to create a network of people. Right. And you're not, your office space is still quite small, so by using a lot of outsourced people, it really keeps that overhead low, and then eventually, as you grow, then you can hire full-time people, but it has to be a slow, careful progression.
Right.
You don't want to jump too quickly.
You don't take all the profits from one good idea and assume it's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every month after that. In terms of what are some of the risks that, I guess, like, I don't, not to ask you to share too many of your weak sides, but maybe say with some of your competitors, for example, apart from not watching the downsides, what ultimately causes them to not watch their downside, maybe, or maybe some other risk points that you could share with other business people that could say, like, look, some people don't like to think about this sort of thing, but you should.
Sure. One thing that was key to us was watching our stock levels. We were always terrified of being sold out of a product, so we would, in the beginning, order too much, and it's one thing we would see, some of our retailers, if they might be off price, so they'll order a lot of your product, and you think everything is great, so you plan accordingly, and you just reorder a lot because you want to keep that flow going, and then they stop, or the customers, the market just shifts away from whether it's jewelry organization to closet organization to skincare, which is what we're in now, and you really want to be careful to. What we do is we'll stagger it. Instead of bringing in a whole container full of product, we might do half a container, every couple of months instead of doing it once a month. And yes, we might pay a bit more on the, to shipping it from the factory to our warehouse, but
that risk management is justified. Almost.
Exactly, yeah, and it's something we've seen other companies and competitors of ours do, where they just have way too much stock, and they'll make those mistakes. It's very important to work with factories who will give you very low minimum orders, per product. When we were first looking for factories, they would say minimum 50,000 units of a product.
Wow.
And this is a product we have no idea if we'll even do well. And it came to the point where we were able to find factories who would give 5,000, 6,000 units at a time. So that allowed us to watch our downside. We'll take the risk of 6,000 units per product. It allows us to make more products, so you're bringing in more SKUs and less of it. And if it does well, yes, you might sell out, but you bring in a little bit more on the next run,
right?
And you won't have that too much stock. And one reason it's so important is there's also a lot of pressure on our warehouses. We use third-party warehouses, and the one thing they hate is just stock just sitting there. So you don't want to be in a situation where
because they're not making money on inventory that's sitting there.
They want to turn it.
Yeah.
So you're going to get pressure from them. They're going to charge you penalties
storage
for having
fees,
and then one of our warehouses is actually charged with penalties if it's there for more than like 6 months to a year, the same stock just sitting there. So then you're in a position where, like, what do I even do with this? So you have to start closing it out and taking a loss on it.
Yeah, you got to put it somewhere. What are you going to do? Open a storage unit and bring your stock? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just a crucial point. And really, just to one other point is to be humble with the products that you have. And you might think it's the God's gift to mankind, but
be realistic.
Yeah, we're really seeing, like, will someone buy it? It's very black and white.
Yeah.
We thought the Christmas tree would be just incredible, but ultimately when we brought it in, people didn't buy it. The good thing is we didn't bring in that much of it, so we brought in about 600 units. So it wasn't that bad once we saw it didn't sell. Now we did put a lot of man hours into it, but we were able to, continue playing the game, live another day.
Live another day.
Yeah.
So what does your day-to-day look like in terms of reading email, investigating competitors? What does that look like?
It's a good question. One of the challenges of being a smaller company is we have to be quicker than the bigger guys. Well-funded, much bigger teams, more experienced. We have to we work with a few different factories in Korea and China, and one key is the communication. They're constantly keeping it going. A lot of the bigger companies might, you'll send your notes to the factories, that night, leave for work, come the next morning, and then respond, because the factories in Asia, and they'll start working when we go to sleep.
Yep.
So in order for us to be faster than everyone else, I'll be up at night. I'll wake up every couple hours, look at my phone. WhatsApp is really our main use of communication with a lot of our
I've noticed that. I've got some work in Asia Pacific, and the partner that I work with down there says, like, I don't understand it because we don't do this in Australia, but in Asia Pacific, we close deals over WhatsApp.
It's incredible. I can't tell you the communication, what we get done in a night. I know, like, I don't always sleep as much, but it it's important when there's deadlines, when there's products we have to make, and you'll meet with your retailers and you'll show them products that are coming, and if they're interested, then you got to bring it in now because they might not be
hot.
Yeah, exactly. They might not be interested in the next meeting. So last night, 2 different factories in Korea and China, and they were actually, like, spray painting some of our bottles, and they would show it to us, and then we'll look at it and say, too red, and they'll change it up, and
down to that.
Yeah, and they know I'll put my ringer on my phone is on, and they know if I'm not responding, call. that thing will wake me up in a second. I'll decline the call and then respond on the chat.
Okay.
And we'll do that, you know. And
Are you married?
Yeah, with a kid.
How does your wife handle that? Or does she kick you out to the living room?
No, it's funny that she's actually gotten involved. Like she's a great designer, you know. So
Oh, wow.
I'll actually, you know, and it kills me to do it, but I'll just kind of wake her up and it's like, what do you think of this? And she'll look at it and but she's gotten good. She'll be like, you know, that line should be moved higher, and then go back to sleep. You know,
gosh.
and it's terrible. I try not to do it as much as possible.
It's funny because my wife she does graphic design.
Does she?
For the company, so it's very interesting how we're kind of both in the same boat. But I know never to wake her up in the middle of the night.
but you know what it is? It's the whole factory is waiting. Like that whole team.
That's exactly right.
And they're ready to make 10,000, 20,000 units of product, and it's all hinging on like, you know, do you like it? You know, is it
confirmation?
Approved? Yeah. And very often it's not. Sometimes, you know,
because if you lose the factory time, you're not going to get that back. Someone else is going to take that slot.
Right, exactly. And then we've gotten better at it. I mean, there's one thing we've done. This is very recent. Is getting the colors bright under boxes is so crucial. And when a factory is showing it to you on a WeChat or WhatsApp video, the color might be different. And usually it can be very different once you receive your product. Wow. Let's say you made 10,000 units and it looks good on their factory, dark, you know, lighting, you know, but then once it's received, you're like, that's not what I ordered. You know, it's not what I wanted. So we started working with a large printing company, you know, in New York City, and we'll sit with them and they'll create exactly what you want, you know, on the special kind of paper that you want.
The same paper, the same design.
Yeah, we work with metallics, so and we'll go through it, and then we did this last month with them, and we got the results, and we're like, no, this is not. We don't like it, and we did it again, and we did it again. This is normally what we would do with the factory. We did it with them until we got exactly what we wanted. Like, all right, it's perfect. We then shipped the factory the actual paper, you know, with instructions. Like,
okay, wow.
Copy this, you know, and that's what they do so well.
So then they reverse engineer
exactly
what you had the printing company here in New York do.
Right. And
just like, hey, replicate. Please.
Yeah, and this was one of the challenges and one of the reasons I would be up all night. You know, would be perfecting, you know, the coloring, the boxes in the production, you know, process. So to be able to just give them, just say, do
a physical
this,
product.
Yeah, and it's just so much easier, and it's just so much more efficient, and then the product you know that you envision will actually come, you know, to fruition, like once you get it, you know, because that's ultimately what it is. You have a vision of what you want, you know, and very often you're just not going to get it, you know, and it's a shame because what's going to be selling on the shelf is not really what you wanted it to be.
Right, and then you always have that idea that like, well, what if we got the design better?
Right.
Would it have sold better? You have that little bit of that regret.
You get one shot, you know, with a lot of these retailers, and you know, you want to do it, you know, right. You know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Are you going to get to a point where maybe you do this now, but what does your market analysis look like? How do you find a new idea and validate it? Because I can't imagine you guys go straight from idea to factory.
Right.
There's some kind of like
absolutely.
buffers.
I mean, there's the process of walking the stores, right?
Yeah.
Like now we've pivoted into skincare, so we really walk the stores and see, you know, what are the shapes of products they're doing? What are the flavors? Is it vitamin C? Is it retinol? What are you seeing a lot of? And what are you not seeing a lot of? And when you walk to all the high-end stores and low-end stores, and you start to see patterns. One other key thing was when we started meeting with retailers, we didn't just show them the products that we had. We said, listen, we're really quick. We can come up with a product and it'll take a month production, bring it into our warehouse, which is in California, so instead of the East Coast. So it's a 2-week ship time versus a month, so we have to cut down our time. We would tell them, use us as a resource. If there's a product that you're seeing that you want more of, you know, come to us. We'll mock it up. We'll make the design.
Pitch it.
Yeah.
We'll consider
and we'll make it and we'll bring it for you at a great price.
What are you not seeing? Yeah.
Yeah. And it started to work. We'd get calls and they would say, you know, we really want to see more facial serums in vitamin C out of a box, you know, in this size. And we would do it. And we did it with one store in particular. And from there, it would continue growing. And there's certain retailers who are very forward-thinking and they're really studying trends.
Right.
And they that was such a great resource for us. But then there's customers, sometimes much bigger than those, who they're not really looking at trends. It's every product is a style number, and they don't even know that this might be a vitamin C facial serum. They just see it's, 70133 is doing really well. Let's just keep buying into it. And so one thing we would do is we would use the data from that one customer who would give us, make other products, make a different shape, but use the same information we're getting for the other customer. And then everyone's happy because one customer is getting the products that they want, and very often they might not order that much, so we can kind of make it for them, but then have an agreement that we're also going to offer to some other people. Right. So you kind of like split up those MOQs. But ultimately, once we got that data from them, with walking through stores and constantly also looking online, seeing what's doing well, things like Amazon or going to Sephora, and really seeing, who are my competitors? Who's my inspiration? Who do I want to look like? We would very often just walk through stores. Even this morning, we were in Barnes and Nobles. We got coffee at Barnes and Nobles, and we saw the magazine there. And it had some really nice skincare on there, one of the magazines, and we flipped through it and said, that's very interesting. I took a picture of it. Just loved how the shade of pink, on the jar. Right. And not something we might use now, but might be some inspiration.
Yeah, put it on the wall bring it back up.
Yeah, and we'll walk the stores. One thing we did was we loved how cologne, in the stores, and perfume was like beautiful jars and beautiful boxes and presentation. But the skincare was usually kind of bland, medicinal looking or, whites. And we said, well, what if we can kind of, fuse that a little bit? What if we can use embossed boxes with different shapes, in skincare? So that was one thing that was innovative, not too innovative. We don't want to be too innovative. We've learned in the past, if someone makes a Christmas tree on a car, then we'll come out with our own version, But don't be the first person. It's not very often not the answer. Don't be, the first person that creates the product,
Iterate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Kind of like in the market, ride the wave, ride the trend. Don't be the first one that buys the stock,
right?
Because then you're taking all the risk, But very often the people who do it initially are the ones who don't do that well. It's the people who they see the trend, they see what people are doing, and then they just get on.
They get on it, but they don't execute well.
Right. Yeah, and you can get on it. It doesn't have to be at the beginning. You can get on it, and you can do something that's still innovative within that. So you can do a box that's for skincare that's embossed, which nobody has been doing, but it's still a day cream or a facial moisturizer.
Which are things that I have no idea. I have no. I'm a guy. Lotion is what the most I do.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Men's skincare is actually starting to do quite well, which is something we've been studying. It's saying what do men want versus a woman? We can't just copy exactly. And what we found is men want things that are non-regimental. They don't want to put a one cream over another.
100%. I would not deal with the process.
Right. But if there was one, maybe two products that was kind of like an all-in-one, just put it on your face. You're good.
You're good.
Wash it off in the shower. Tubes. Men wanted things in tubes to maybe put in their gym bag or use in the shower. They didn't want jars to open up, kind of gets dirty, And so those were all the things that we've seen. That
your product development conversations, we're having a little bit of it now, but I imagine it's very interesting when you're in that kind of creative mindset. It's okay, let's work this idea. I would love to be a fly in the wall.
Right. It is. It's a lot of moving parts. From we'll have a couple of people who will really do research and say what kind of wording we want to have on our product. Once we decide, okay, let's say it's the vitamin C facial serum. What are you going to put on there? One thing we found was simplicity. Again, the same thing from our inventions. Products. Someone's walking by your product and you have 1.5 seconds for them to see your product. Also in skincare, there's might be 200 products on the shelf. Why is someone going to buy yours? And we found it's got to be punchy. It's got to be sometimes a metallic strip on it just to get someone's attention, and big wording so they get it. Not too big, but enough that vitamin C, boom, it kind of just jumps out at you. And then what does it do? Just 3. It's moisturizing, rejuvenating, refreshing. 3 bullet points,
I've noticed that. I've noticed that in some industries, like they put a paragraph
Yeah, right.
on the customer facing side.
Right.
And it's like, that's too much.
It's
guys.
too much, and it might work for like certain retailers, but for a lot of our customers, it's simple. On the back, there's a whole paragraph. You know,
You put a paragraph there.
But there, you know, why is someone gonna see mine over the competition? And that really is when, you know, when we're walking the store aisles, you know, and looking at our products versus the competitors' products, and you know, why is someone going to buy ours? And why are they going to repeat? You know, come back and buy ours. Sure. That's ultimately that's the biggest thing. You know, your price point's important, but what is it about your product that people are going to see? And you know,
I think ultimately when you're thinking about that question as like, what's next? I think you've proven to your customers that you're a company that can react quickly enough that even if this one product doesn't work out, they're smart enough to figure it out, and you're almost like a better partner in that way.
Yeah.
With your customers, because it's like they'll eventually figure it out.
Sure.
You know, that's why we can rely upon them, because they can execute, they can innovate, they can take cues from us and go from there and build the products that we're looking for. Absolutely, which I think with a lot of industries, and I'm thinking like heavy industry, you know, they're like, no, we just do this. We only do this. We don't. It's almost like in the culture of that there's no innovation. Do you feel like skincare lends itself to that kind of innovation, or is that just you guys only?
It's a good question. I mean, one of the things we've seen is, for example, natural skincare is really hot right now. Sure. You know, it's been trending for about 6 months, you know, at least. But a lot of the big skincare companies, like, you know, Aveeno, you know, even the Johnson & Johnsons, you know, L'Oreal, they're still not, you know, natural skincare products, you know, because they're just too big and they can't jump on things that quickly. So it's kind of like they'll put money in their marketing, but they'll lag behind because they just don't have the ability to be that quick.
We only have one factory and it goes this speed.
Right. And one of the challenges we see in skincare is it does move very quickly. You gotta constantly on your toes, like what's changing, what's the next big thing. So you have to be innovative, and there's a lot of people who are being innovative, you know, because of that. So how are you gonna stand out? You know, we do a lot of trial and error, but one of the things we've seen is like when we hit on something that's good, if there's a particular look that just works, you know, and some of our others haven't, we can build on that. You know, we can do it in different kinds of products, but use that same look. You know, and that's one thing we were able to do, which we weren't really able to do in the inventions, you know, business. There's only so much you can grow.
Right. With the Christmas tree.
Yeah, the Christmas tree, or even the cereal bowl. You can do an extra large version, I guess, you know, or you could do a 2-pack and a 3-pack.
Interesting.
But you can't like really build
the positioning of the same product.
Yeah.
The packaging, the ingredients.
We can have a whole family of products, and they all look like they're in the same family. And you know, one might be an eye cream, one might be a sheet mask.
Sure.
You know, and a scrub, and a moisturizer, and a facial mist, and a cleanser. They all look alike, and you kind of build on that success from the initial ones. You know.
Any Instagram influencers you're working with?
That's something where we've just started getting into.
That sounds like the next level, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's interesting because we, you know, my brother and I, more old school. You know, we'd go to the trade shows, you know, hit the phones. Yeah, when it came to social media, it was just a world we didn't really understand, and
hype, and personal brand, and
putting money into things that you might not
placement.
Right,
yeah.
You're not really seeing, like, it's not like a, you know, A plus B equals C sort of scenario. It's you just have to do it. So you just kind of throw money at it.
Look, man, one of the Shark Tank. I don't know, how old are you?
36.
36. Yeah. I'm just a little bit behind. So you can't call yourself old school.
Right, sure.
So I'm 32. I will be 33 this year. But I swear that there's like there was a Shark Tank, not Shark Tank, the Profit episode with Marcus Lemonis.
Oh yes.
On I think a sock company, and I had no idea that there was this, because I just buy socks in black.
Sure.
So that's it. But there's a whole sock company designed around, hey, we've got this new sock pattern. We want to sell it. There's an Instagram feed, a Facebook Live, and they're kind of bringing the experiential nature of like, here's a product, you can only get it now. We're never going to make another run of this.
Sure.
Order now or you're not going to get it.
Right.
Kind of thing. And it's really interesting. And it worked.
Yeah.
Works. I mean, they pushed through more revenue than my company does, so it's got to work, right?
It's incredible. We've seen companies like that, and we're now pretty heavily involved in social media, and we have just was in terms of finding the right team who can really kind of go with it. One thing we were weary of was meeting with social media companies that would say, all right, we need a budget of $100,000 from you.
Oh yeah.
And we're going to take 15% of the ad spend, and we would see a lot of companies just go bust because they would put all their
eggs in one basket,
all their trust in these companies. Oof. And we just couldn't do it. We needed to find a social media company that was more in line with who we were.
More realistic.
Yeah, and also who can just be more innovative in what they do instead of just throwing a lot of money there and an ad spend.
It almost is like you're almost picking a marketing company that almost aligns to your values as Transformers, so that you're not picking something
Absolutely.
That's so off the mark, because I'm sure those kind of companies work well for other kind of businesses. That's why they're successful.
Yeah.
That's why they exist.
Yeah.
But they're not exactly the right ones for you.
Right. And it's so crucial to find ones that are in line. But in everything that we do, whether it's our designers or renders or every sort of, whether it's even the warehouse or the office space that we rent out, everyone needs to be in line, and especially our employees, and when everything is done, correctly, then we can properly grow,
Right.
And that over the years we've been able to assemble a real team of people who are aligned properly, and that's really helped us, give us, compete.
Well, in order to wrap up, I know our audience will say this is probably the longest episode we've had today, but I want to ask you one final question. What would you say to yourself if you had a chance to talk to 10 years ago you now?
Sure.
What would you tell that person?
To really, like I was saying before, go with what's working. If you're seeing, you don't need to be the most innovative person. You don't need to come up with something that it's gonna make you rich, because no one's ever done it before. Really just look at what the trend is. If people are interested in cereal bowls, come up with a cereal bowl that's innovative. It doesn't have to be too crazy. It could just be something, maybe it just looks a little more sleek and it's a better price point. That's where the money is, in doing something. Yes, you can be the next fidget spinner,
right,
guy.
True,
but you don't want to go there. I mean, Shark Tank's it's a really entertaining show, but it's TV. It's entertainment. We've seen a lot of the other side of Shark Tank that a lot of people might not know, where
all the ones that never got there.
And even people who got deals, it was very short-lived and wasn't that successful. It's not to say that some people aren't, but it's a lot easier. Like we pivoted into skincare because we were kind of dabbling in it, but we were making a lot more money doing the small amount of skincare we were doing than all the other inventions that we had, and it just made more sense. Like what are we doing? Go where the money is.
Right.
And that was humbling, and we let go of that part of the business and pivoted into skincare, and we've done phenomenally better, and it's been almost easier.
Right.
It's not easy, but so much easier than
because you get the margin.
Yeah, you get the margin. You don't have to convince people, and the buyers, why they should be buying it. It's skincare; they know it. Just buy mine over someone else's because it's a little flashier, or it's a little better. Maybe it's more natural than the other people, and they'll give you a shot.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah. Well, we're gonna end it here today. Let me do a little bit of housekeeping for the listeners. Next episode, we'll be talking to Simon, a previous show guest, about some of our other adventures with Fishbowl, and whether you've got $1 million in revenue or $100 million in revenue, the challenges are all the same, and we're here to help you navigate through it. Now, go make some money. Thanks.
Have a good one. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.